On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I talk about inflation, housing, and heading into the revolution. Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations. This is obviously your co-host, Rob Hahn, the notorious ROB, and with me is my other co-host, the fabulous Greg.
You just love saying that now. And yeah, now it's more people are fucking coming out through. Yeah, it's just unfucking.
I'm gonna get T-shirts made for you, the fabulous Greg Robertson.
You know, it's funny because when I was a kid, I was always into magic, right? And you can see I've got a couple magic posters in my my home office here, and I was like the Carter the Great, the amazing Alexander, whatever, those kind of things. The fabulous. I'm not sure if I've seen a magician that was called the fabulous.
I think do you remember the Johnny Carson the routine?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah,
Cardini or
Karnak or something.
Karnak, the great.
Karnak the Great, right? Yeah, and he had the big hat.
Yeah, and he would his whole thing was like he'd say the punchline first, right? Yeah. So it's like zucchini, and then he'd open it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think you need to get that hat, Greg.
I need to get the hat. Okay. The term.
And then we should do a whole episode around fabulous Greg.
As the fabulous Greg Robertson.
That's right. So there's some stuff to talk about. I think since we're recording this on a Wednesday, which is a little bit out of because you're going on a fabulous vacation.
Yeah, I'm going on a fabulous vacation. Yes.
But so I figure the biggest story is the fact that inflation numbers just came out today, and it was a doozy. 9.1, baby.
Yeah. I mean, the data is already old when it gets here, right? But
of course, it's a lagging indicator.
It's a lagging indicator, but holy shit, what an indicator! And some of the stuff I've been reading is that they're blaming a lot on housing.
Yeah,
on housing, right? So,
as they should. But what's weird about it is I think the 9.1 blaming it on housing is still too low, right? Yeah. So I just did a little quick thing. I found a website through this video I saw called Trueflation, and they compute sort of the inflation numbers a little differently. And they're coming out with housing is up 12.4% year over year.
Wow.
The official inflation is talking about 5.5%, right? Because they use this thing called owner's equivalent rent, which is total nonsense, right? But, so based on that plus rent, Trueflation was talking about 12.4. So, their actual number, in fact, let me look it up right now as we're sitting here.
It's Jimmy Carter era.
Yeah, basically. So I figure it's just a matter of time before bell bottoms come back. All right, Trueflation, 10.45%, which isn't that bad compared to 9.1. I mean, it's not that far away. But then housing was 12.19, right? And that's with some of the drops of recent because the housing market's been in flux ever since the Fed started raising rates, So yeah, I think housing is going to be a big driver of it, which is why I'm just dude, inflation's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, and again, to keep on the thread of this is not investment advice, but
that's right. We are not investment advisors. Yeah,
but I will say, a good buddy of mine who's financial dude, turn me on to these kind of I bonds, right? That you can get through Treasury Direct, which, are paying right now at 9.62. And, I can only imagine what they're going to be because they're adjusted every 3 months or something like that, or every 6 months.
That's right.
Now they're limited to buy it. You can only buy $10,000 per SSN, but holy crap. I think I know exactly what I'm getting my nephews for their birthdays. It's a couple eyeballs back. Yeah.
It depends on what their time horizon is, right? You could just buy them Bitcoin and they'll be better off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, buddy. I'm looking at my Coinbase account. I'm not sure exactly what yours is looking like, but it's almost as well, a 401k account isn't doing that well either. Right?
I was gonna say it looks a lot like my my Robinhood. So I'm like, hey, equities or crypto, either one, you're getting crushed. But in either case, like housing, I feel like it's absolutely true. Housing is the driver of inflation, right? It's the sector that is the most sensitive to interest rate changes, and obviously the Fed's raising rates. Thing is, it's impossible to prognosticate. Right? I've been on financial Twitter the last couple of months. I feel like just trying to learn and trying to ask questions and debate, and so like here's the question, right? Will home prices actually fall? Right. So like Mike Simon, our good friend Mike Simonson, he does great research, and he's just showing
a great job. I mean, his YouTube videos and he's picked it up a notch for sure. Yeah.
He really is doing some phenomenal work. But the stats that he's showing are stuff like percentage of listings that have price reductions, right? It's like way up. The amount of inventory is really climbing, right? And yet,
well, there's your answers there, right? I mean, they are, if they're the amount of discounting is going up, right? So
well, that's what I'm saying. Here's the weird thing. So you'll see these charts that'll say like sales are down 12%, 13% year over year, right? So number of transactions are down. Inventory's way up. The amount of listings with price reductions is way up. Days on market is up. All kinds of stuff. And then year over year, sale price is up 19%.
Yeah, okay, that's true. But again, when did this last? The 75 basis points just take effect? That was a month ago. That
was last month.
Okay, so a month ago, right? So I mean, we really haven't seen the effects of that yet, right? So you're seeing the first 5 months, and then it's only been a month here. I think you look 3 months ahead. Mm-hmm. You're going to start seeing something there. Another guy that I love that does great work on this is that Ryan Lindquist. He's like the Sacramento appraiser or something. Okay. He's got a Twitter account, and he does a phenomenal job. I think I even cited him in my book.
Okay, I need to follow him. I think
and he puts out the same thing for like the Sacramento area, but it's to me kind of a microcosm, and to me, Sacto is a little bit different because you get a lot of the Bay Area people that were priced out there that have moved, kind of more inland of California there. But he does it just like he has, but it's very focused on the those kind of markets. But he does a great job of showing them stuff, and he's showing exactly what you're talking. What Mike is showing is that's a lot of price cuts. Right. And inventory going up. And again, but we're only, I guess it was actually less than a month that they just announced that. Right. And then it's the weird part about it is now you're also saying that it was like at 6 and now it went to like 5.75 or 5.5.
Yes. When we talk about mortgage rates, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And they're going to be headed back up, but still. So I think the idea there is, inventory and listing price cuts are like leading indicators.
Right.
Whereas closed sale price is a lagging indicator because a lot of those contracts are signed, 60 days ago. Right.
Right.
Something like that.
And then the other thing real quick, the other thing I was reading is a lot of people are getting out of there. They're walking. Right?
Yeah. The cancellations, like the buyers.
That's the word I was looking.
Thing is, I don't know if the buyers are walking or if they're just like they're no longer qualifying.
Yeah,
right, because the things have changed. I
suspect could be either way. You're right.
Right, but what I mean is, it's not like buyers choosing to walk away. It's more like buyer thought he had a loan and he doesn't, right, and now he can't afford it. So stuff like that. When it's unclear, right, without a little bit more data. Thing is, man, like. Even with the price reductions, I'm not seeing the list price be lower on a year-over-year basis. Right. In other words, if a home was 400 last year, you listed at 450.
I mean, what was the appreciation last year? Right, 20%.
20%. Yeah.
So you have a long way to crawl crawl back from that. Right.
Right. Then that's the issue. So I'm like, okay, I know that the inventory numbers are up, but what's up is the amount of inventory that has come on the market, right? In absolute terms, we're still below like 2 months, 3 months. Mm-hmm. Now, what they're saying is, look, we went from like 3 weeks to 2 months, right? So it's this huge increase, but we're still not at 6 months inventory, for example.
Well, but again, right? Again, it being only less than a month ago that the rates were hiked, and there's talking about another 75 basis points coming up pretty soon.
Dude, I think it's gonna be another 100.
Yeah, I mean,
after this print, it's going to be 100 bips. Yeah.
So that's going to be crazy, right?
Sure.
So, so what are we looking at the end of the year? I mean, it's funny because all the predictions, being at the different conferences last year, what is 2022 going to look like? And basically the prediction was it's going to be, not as crazy as 21, but still appreciates everything else. So far that's playing out. I think though the 23, you're going to start seeing all these things kind of building up, and that's when you're going to see a lot of things. But I think if I was looking for a home right now, I mean, you have to buy, I think October-ish to me feels like all this stuff is going to catch up a little bit, especially with the last one, and then the effects of the new one. If it comes out before that, we'll see. I don't know.
So here's the thing, man. Like one of the things that I put out a post about this. I put out a couple of tweets about this. The thing that I'm starting to wonder about is like, what do we consider as normal, right? In other words, the people are okay. The current housing market is totally insane, right? Logan Mohtashami, who's the chief economist at Housing Wire, he has this thing like savagely unhealthy housing market, right? So he's been pushing for like much higher rates, to try and drive demand down and then, get the housing market back. And I'm like, okay, so what's healthy? There used to be that a balanced market is 6 months of inventory, right? But I don't know if that's really a useful metric, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, again, two things, right? We're still at historically low interest rates. I mean, the first condo I bought was like close to 8%.
Sure.
Right. I mean, so it might have been more than that, right? So we're still low on that, right? And you don't want to. I don't want to say this as like this is going to kind of be this, panacea or not even that, just a catch-all. But I mean, the pandemic really did change things. This work from home movement really did change things. Other things you've read like Mark Andreessen, he fundamentally believes that the work from home movement is just going to change the country.
Of course.
Right? And I think housing, I mean, what's the H in WFH, right?
Yeah.
Is the big part of that. So we're dealing with some stuff that, it's unprecedented. We haven't seen it before. So it's going to be hard for anybody, I think, to predict. And then, if you're saying, and I think this is correct, that housing is one of the big things that's an inflation driver, and the whole kind of housing industry, the whole way we think about homes and everything else is changing. Shit, who knows, man?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what's next? Because we're in uncharted land, right? We have no,
here's the piece I want to bring up.
In the dark right now.
Here's the thing I want to bring up. So I think months inventory is not a useful metric, right? The number of transactions is not a real useful metric. The only useful metric that I could come up with is price to income ratio, right? Meaning, what's the median income, right, of an area or of a country or what have you, and then what's the median price of the home, right? So, like you mentioned, when you first bought your condo, rates were like double digits, right?
Well, it was high. It was double digit, 8, right?
8. Okay. When was that? Do you remember? What year did you buy?
Probably 2000-ish.
2000-ish.
Yeah.
So 2000.
90s.
So here's the thing, like all through the 80s. So I did some studies. I went and like looked at some numbers. All through the 80s, the price to income ratio was below 3. Right. And then I think it might have been 2 actually. Hold on. Let me pull this up, because I wrote about this and I was like, this is unbelievable.
Well, I mean, this isn't exact while you're looking. This isn't exactly what you're talking about, but they were talking about for the median income of a person in Miami.
Yeah.
They would have to spend 86 of their income to afford the medium priced house there. Something ridiculous like
that's
that.
crazy. Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
So this is, let me just share this. I think we can see this, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
So this is the chart. I know it's a little bit hard to see. I want to see if I can blow this up. All right. So all through the 80s, right, which is when boomers were effectively buying houses, right? Because, boomers were born in the 60s. They probably came of age. So 80s is probably when they were starting to really buy houses. Look at this price to income ratio. it's like 2, right? So if you're making 50,000 was the median income, then a house was 100 grand. All through the 90s, it's below 2.75 or so, right? And the reason I bring this up is if you look at like HUD guidance or federal government kind of guidance as to what's affordable housing, they're like 3, right? 3 to 1 is about kind of affordability. All right, 2000, early 2000s is when you first bought your home, when I first bought mine. It's kind of right around that 3 mark, right? So it's starting to be expensive, but, you know, very doable, right? And then you got the bubble, right? And then
you're going like at 8 when the bubble, you know, 8 and 9.
Well, it was 4, right? So bubble, at the height of the bubble was under 4. And then we dipped for a while. And look at this, man. We're now at 5.
So like 2010 on, it's just a fucking...
It's a fucking mess. We're at 5.
Straight up. I mean, you know, the slope is incredible. Yeah.
Right. So I bring this up because I said, okay, if that's the case, and we're going to go with median income, you know, ratios, right? What should be the price of a home in the US nationally, right? And it was this. I'll highlight this. Okay. Home price would have to drop by 50%, 48%, right? Because the median income in 2022 is 71,300, right? Which means that 3 times that, the median home price should be 213. Right now it's 400.
Yeah.
408.
And that, you know, to be honest, I mean, not to be honest, but just that number, that median price home, that number's been crazy for the past 3 years, right? I mean,
correct.
It's just like, it's made jumps that it's never been ever done before.
Correct. Right? You know, like this, right? Ever since, you know, pandemic. But the thing is, like, it's not like homes in 2019 were affordable.
Right.
Right. Like within the industry, we were having like huge amounts of angst and agita over like 2018, 2019. Millennials can't buy homes. Homes, you know, housing affordability is a major challenge. We're talking about that then. And if you look at the chart, man, like you can see it, right? Yeah. You can see it. Homes weren't affordable since like 2009, right?
Yeah. I mean, and then you can look at it this way. I mean, again, you know, people want to take credit when things are good, and then they don't want to take credit when things are bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But you know, in a sense, if home prices is what is really the biggest factor in inflation here,
right?
Then I mean, it's not Biden, it's not Trump, it's really the pandemic again. It's just an offshoot of the way that this nation and the work from home. You know,
I mean, look,
how things are changing, right?
If you're an Austrian like me, then you just go, it's because the Fed money printing, right? Which has flowed into things like asset price, which is homes.
Why did they do that, right? I mean, again, they were doing that as part of the pandemic.
That's been going on since the .com burst back in 2001. Right, is when they first started money printing, and then they accelerated more after the GFC.
But I mean, after the past 3 years, it's just
the straight up and to the right was the pandemic. But I'm saying in fact, I have the money chart. I'm going to share again. Right.
Remember, we got listeners here too, right? Just
I know. Hey, listener, you should get on YouTube and check this out.
You bastard.
But right, so you're right. I mean. In the past 2 years, it's this. Yeah, but if you look just generally, man, since 2000, look at this orange line. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're an Austrian like me, then you say, look, it's about the money printing. However, I think it's not about fault like Biden, Trump. It's about the Fed, right? If you're an Austrian. If you're not an Austrian, then it's about supply crisis, this, that, and the other thing. All I'm getting at is, all right, as we think about house prices, there's all these people, the rates are going high. Look, with 9.1, when the Fed hikes rates by 100 bips, you're gonna be like, mortgage rates are going to be like 6.5, 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. But I mean, again, still historically low, right?
I mean, it's not historically low unless you're just referring back to the 70s and 80s, right? Because we just went through like 30 years where mortgages were like around 6.
70s, 80s were, I mean, you know, I mean,
we were kids then. Let's put it that way. You and I are old now, so it depends on what you mean by history. But point is, like, okay, it's going to really reduce demand, blah blah blah, and then the thinking is this should drop home prices,
right? And we're seeing a little bit of that, but not the 48% it needs to be. As you're saying,
that's my point.
If you're using my point. If you're using that particular metric, you're saying that metric is what you think is. A lot of people think it's income. Well, I guess that's the same fucking ratio.
Debt to income ratio.
Damn it, I fell in the trap there, Rob.
No, but it's real. So I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying I know what that metric ought to be, but it would be cool to have somebody like come tell us like what is the metric, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not price to income, fine. It's this other thing. It's percent compared to stock market.
Yeah, I've heard like percent of paycheck, or I mean, I've heard some things out there, but we could probably find that out. But I think the ratio is not a bad one to use for sure.
Because we have data about it going back a ways, but so we could talk about it's about monthly payments.
But it's like anything else. These anomalies like this happen, like you're showing that last 2 years of just the insane,
straight to the right, up and to the right,
up into the right, hockey stick, thing. It just kind of blows away all those, those kind of metrics you would use anyway, right? It's like, and I've seen some articles about this, how like every AVM out there is just sucks because nobody could ever factor in the craziness that's going on here. So all the math and algorithms that you've ever used before are all just throw them out because they don't make any sense anymore because we're in an unprecedented.
No, you're right, and we are in unprecedented. But here's the challenge and the question, right? Okay, I think you and I both agree home prices are not falling by 50%, right?
No,
because the price reductions we've seen is still off of a very high base. In other words, like I listed at 450. Oh, I'm gonna cut it to 440. And that'll drop to 435. Okay, when it finally does so, it'll sell for 410.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still whatever higher than it cost last year.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think that we're seeing a trend that says, last year my house was 400. This year I'm gonna have to sell it for 350. We're not hearing that yet, right?
Well, okay, but there's two sides to your metric, right?
Yeah. There's the price and there's the income. Correct.
Yeah. So let's talk about income.
That was kind of where I was going next. You're like reading my mind, because after the June CPI print shows that real income went down by 4%.
God, and the corporate profits are just rising too, right?
We'll see, but right now, man, the street, the FinTwit community that I'm following, they all think corporate profits this quarter is going to come in horrible.
Right,
it's going to come in terrible.
Yeah,
right. But oil and gas profits are probably still up. Like certain companies are doing very, very well.
They've been taking advantage of this as far as they can get, right?
Hey man, I wouldn't go there. You know why? Because the other sector where we're going to show really strong profits is housing.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to announce our inaugural sponsor of the Industry Relations podcast, NoteRouter. NoteRouter was launched back in 2018 by Nick Goff, and they had the mission of reconnecting real estate. NoteRouter is an all-in-one email and texting platform designed exclusively for real estate. NoteRouter syncs with your membership database to make communicating with your members easier and more effective. Believe me, your staff is going to love you for this. If you're an association or MLS and you want to do a better job with communicating with members, really look no further. They've just launched a brand new website. It looks fantastic, by the way. I'll put the URL in the show notes. It's NoteRouter.com. Go there, take a look. You'll find everything you need. Once again, thank you, Nick. Thank you to everybody at NoteRouter for sponsoring the Industry Relations podcast. Rob and I truly appreciate your support.
Real estate agents have made a shit fuck ton of money.
Well, their median income has gone up, and that's because of, again, the craziness that has been this home market. Not because they've raise their commissions or anything. It's just the freaking appreciation of houses have gone bananas. And
fine. I'm just saying before we go throw rocks at oil and gas companies. I'm just saying AG's last 2 years have made enormous profits. Right. Yeah. So let's not throw rocks. It's not just like greed or whatever. It just is what it is. Right.
Yeah. Okay. You're not getting me to not hate on the fucking oil and gas.
You need to get a Tesla, I think.
No.
And then you won't hate the oil and gas company.
Was asking about what was Rob and Sonny's model that they had, and I'm like, oh god, here we go.
The Model 3.
Yeah, Model 3. That's what I thought.
Well, all right. So here's the thing.
Hold on. Just like, I fucking hate all this, right? Because can't things just change so much that you can't use the history. To kind of guide you because it's just different now.
Yeah.
I mean, God, it's just, it gets to a point where you can't use your own wisdom because it's based upon things that don't exist anymore.
That's
or
right.
Changed so much that it's invalid. Right.
That's right.
And it just everybody becomes a pundit. Everybody becomes because it is just a fucking guessing game of trying to predict the future, and that's impossible to predict the future. We put something happens. Okay, well, I think we understood what happened in the housing crisis, the Great Recession. And we put some guardrails into that, so that will never happen again. But then this other thing, the pandemic comes up, and work from home, and that just, how do we fucking account for that? And then what's the next thing going to be? And what's the next thing going to be? I mean, it's just, oh my God, it's cats sleeping with dogs. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, can someone I want my mommy and daddy sometimes.
Yeah, you just want to slow down a little bit.
Something, right? I mean, can't everybody cut? I mean, the haves and the have-nots. There's some people who have just made way more money than they've ever have because of and there's other people that are kind of struggling. I don't know about you, but I mean, I have a wide demographic of friends. Right. I mean,
I'll bet you mine is wider than yours.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And it's, it's tough out there for a lot of different things. And the other side, it's just that, the other side is just whatever. They're going to ride this through, whatever it's going to take.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't know what I'm saying here, Rob. I'm just, it's just like, mommy.
I get you, man. I totally get it. But, I think our task really is to at least try and provide some thoughts. I wouldn't even call it guidance because I don't think anyone can provide guidance.
Not either one of us.
I think we can, however, provide some thoughts. And the thoughts are these. When I look at, home prices we've agreed, right? Home prices aren't going to get back to affordable, right? 50% drop in home value.
If income doesn't come up, right? And we know
it's just, it's not going to happen. All right. So maybe home prices come down 20%. Are incomes going to go up 30, 40%? I don't see it. There's no, I just can't imagine.
Well, we talked about this a little bit and the scenario is this, right? So we always thought the scenario was going to be, and what is it? Ray Dalio? Is that his name? Right. I was listening to him and I read that Principles book a little bit, and it talks about these things that happen and these waves of things that happen, and it could be that we're heading into a revolutionary kind of thing where it's not like workers unite and we're going to get the pitchforks and we're going to get the guns and the axes and we're going to capitalism or going to go after the robber barons or whatever.
I don't know, man. If you look at what's going on in Netherlands and Sri Lanka and Italy.
I'm saying this to the wrong fucking person, but listen, let me hear you out.
Okay.
The other thing that I was saying before was this could be a quiet revolution.
Sure.
Right. And the thought process behind that is that's what you're going to pay me? Fuck it. I'll make YouTube videos and just live in the means that I can do where I don't have to go work for you unless you're going to pay me a decent wage. Right.
That's right.
I've heard also on, I forget which podcast this was, is that, it was Kara Swisher talking with the guy behind Real Desk, Adam Sorkin, or not Adam Sorkin, but one of the guys in the New York Times.
Yeah.
And, talk about, some of his friends were making a lot of money on Bitcoin and that's taking a shit. And now I put my resume out because I'm not, I'm not making money anymore with that. So they had to kind of go back to a regular gig. Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean we could have this. Maybe we could have wage increases because not because there's, barbarians at the gates, right, wanting to like, forcibly do this, but this passive thing where it's like, I'm not getting off my ass unless you guys are going to pay me a decent wage. Sure. And maybe there's a bit that might happen there where corporations and companies are going to have to do that to kind of get people back in jobs and to pay them a decent wage.
It's possible, but and I hope that, look, let's put it this way. I hope that if there's a revolution, it's a quiet one, right? Because we don't want the loud ones. Like that's
well, I'm going to your house, man. I think we were talking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, come on over.
Jen, pack the kids. We're going to Vegas.
That's right. And before you come, though, we're gonna need some. We're gonna need you and Jen to go to the range a few times. And
well, I need a lot of practice.
But it's like what I think about there is like, can companies afford to pay more? Right?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, why? Why do you think so? Do you think companies just are flush with cash?
I think a lot of them are. Yeah, hell yes.
I mean, who?
Oil and gas. Let's just start.
Oil and gas can afford to pay more. Can like your local pizzeria pay more? Because small business is like 80% of jobs, right?
Is it?
Yeah, small business is a big driver of employment, right? So like 10 or fewer employees. We're talking like pizzeria, the local dry cleaner, the auto mechanic, right, down the street. We're not talking oil and gas, ExxonMobil, and fucking Facebook, right? Like those guys don't.
It accounts for 80% of jobs.
I'll look it up. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean that just sounds a little bit off, right? But okay.
Small business.
I mean, I think the government probably 50% of the goddamn.
All right, let's see. Small business employee. I'm sorry, I totally overestimated. It was 46.8%.
Yeah.
So like half, right? I mean, can those guys really afford to pay more? So I don't know, and I think the answer is it kind of depends on what they do. So here's my overriding theory and thesis, right? I think because of inflation, because of incomes, because of all these things, we're moving down the Maslow hierarchy of needs, like just as a community.
Right.
So it's the food, energy, housing, the security, like the real important things. Those are going to be much more important, and then we'll go up from there. A lot of the companies that are out there are pretty high on the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I went worked out, and had a real pain, and I went to the massage place, right, and got a sports massage. And I'm thinking, you know what? If I were like one of my friends who aren't, who are in a different economic, like there's no way, like that's out the window, like that's gone. No, you're not.
A deep tissue massage? No.
Yeah, fuck that. That is not on the agenda when gas is, $180. Like it's just not going to happen. So I don't know that the small business really have pricing power. I don't know that they could go, hey, you know what? We're very sorry, but we got to raise our prices by 30% because I got to pay my people more. I don't know that they have pricing power like that. Restaurants, another one. Like if I'm between pay the electric bill or buy groceries, like last thing you're thinking about is let's go out to eat, right?
Yeah.
So that's my concern. So it's, again, I have my whole idea, and you're a business owner, right? You know this. I don't think business owners sit there and go, how can I screw my employees as much as possible? I don't. I think business owners go, how can I reward my team members for helping me be successful? How can I pay them the most, while still keeping a profit for myself? So if I'm not giving people a raise, it's not because I'm some greedy, like mustache twirling capitalist, right? It's because I can't afford to. I can't pay you and stay in business, right? And I think a lot of our small business, a lot of our companies have products or services that are way high up on the hierarchy of needs, and they're just not. I think I'd be really screwed. So I don't know that we're going to see the type of wage improvement, right? Unless we see a huge pivot. In other words, as an example, there's still kind of a labor shortage in construction. Right.
The trades, so to speak.
The trades.
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't need any more social media marketing managers. That's high up on the hierarchy of needs.
Influencers, right?
Right. We might need a hell of a lot more roofers. Right.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting you say that. It's like, and again, this is a little bit of a first world problem. Also, I'm getting some work done on my VW. I have a 59 bus.
Yeah.
And the shop over there is fantastic. I love going there because I love, those classic cars, and he has got work come out of his ears, but he doesn't have like guys that are good mechanics.
Yeah.
Right. And, he'd pay them a lot of money because there's a lot of guys out there like me that want, their cars worked on and or added or, tweaked to, but those kind of jobs of like, people, kids want to be a social media manager rather than like, fix motors and stuff.
Right.
And there's a lot of money, I think, to be made in the trade, so to speak, as you say, right?
Yeah. Huge amount of money. It's just, can they afford? So it's this really weird pivot point that I think we're going through. The sad part of it, I suppose, the unfortunate part of it is, in that transition, there's just an enormous amount of pain, right? And to bring it back home, like I just saw a report the NAR put out that, now the membership number's up to 1.5 million. Like they added 100,000 people last month or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know that we need 1.5 million realtors. I think we could use 1 million roofers, right? And of like 500,000 realtors, right? That pivot, because I feel like our new economy is going to require that's going to be enormously painful and really disruptive, right? And that's kind of what I think about. And at the same time, okay, if those types of real jobs, working with like real world oil and gas, food, energy, commodities, like we need more people mining fucking iron and lithium and fewer people doing spreadsheets, right? So the world needs fewer of you and me. Okay. Yeah, it needs a lot more of like plumbers and roofers.
Well, yeah. I mean, then to put it closer to home, I mean, we were at restaurants, right? Or in any service organizations. I mean, where were we? I was taking my daughter. We went to Golden Spoon, right? Mm-hmm. Get some yogurt. She loves to get some yogurt there. And they had a little sign on there. It says, we're short staffed and like everybody else, and please be nice.
That's right.
Because, they're having trouble. Like, a lot of restaurants, a lot of other hospitality places are having trouble. People still want that service that they got pre-pandemic. It does not exist. But they still, have a heart attack because they don't get their goddamn, salad within, 20 minutes or within 5 minutes or whatever of ordering.
That's right.
And it's and you're right. It's a good question to ask if that salad that costs, fuck salads aren't, $15. If it was 20, is it worth
better service?
Better service, right? Maybe at some point, somebody's going to start doing that, and people are start going to that restaurant and like, okay, well, we made this work, right?
Yeah. But here's the thing: you said people are going to start going to the restaurant. No. Wealthy people are going to start going to that restaurant.
Yeah.
The ones who are higher up on the hierarchy of needs, and they're like, I want a nice salad. I don't mind paying $20 or $30 for a salad, and that's what's happening, right? Like, today I'm living in Las Vegas, man. You go to some restaurants here, you could get great service and great food. It ain't gonna be cheap.
Like hey, fucking $35 for a Tanqueray and tonic, man. I think I did that once.
It's $80 for steak. Like it is what it is. But that's what it takes if you want that service, which means that most people aren't going to that restaurant. They're not going to SW Steakhouse. They're just not. Right. Especially when everything else costs more. So bringing all of this back in a way, the 9.1 thing, it really concerns me for this reason. And it's a lagging indicator, right? So leading indicators are things like appointments and listings and activity, like showing time probably, has all kinds of data, that's a leading indicator, right?
Right.
One of the leading indicators is new construction, right? Home builders are seeing this sharp drop off, right? And their borrowing costs just went up, right? or it's gonna go up, right? Because the Fed's gonna raise rates. So it's like a lot of builders apparently are backing off from building homes, right? And I'm going, wait a minute. So let's get this straight. Housing is the biggest driver of inflation. Because we have high inflation, the Fed's going to raise rates. Because the Fed raises rates, home builders are going to stop building housing, which then makes housing prices go up, which drives inflation. I'm like, am I getting this right? Like, right? Am I?
And who's that? Who's that gal that was talking about her thing is like, well, get ready for there's going to be too many houses for sale.
Ivy Selman. Yeah.
Ivy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's a whole other thing, right? So it's like, are they stopping because there's going to be too many houses in the future? Because, during this ramp up, we started building again, which we didn't because, the Great Recession and all that. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Build a house? You want me to build a house?
Yeah.
Look at the market, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like caught up with us. Another reason why.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to like, I want to just go into the corner in a fetal position and suck my thumb.
Don't do that. Go take your vacation, get your mental break, and then come back to it strong. But I don't know how brokers and agents are navigating this market, right?
I don't know how anybody's brokers and agents, how anybody's navigating what's going on right now. Good Lord.
I assume the smart people out there are making money hand over fist. They're shorting the shit out of stuff, and then they're going to just kill it.
Balls, man.
I just heard a report that Ray Dalio, speaking of Ray Dalio, like he's not just an author, right? He manages the world's largest hedge fund. I heard somewhere that he has like a $10 billion short position on a variety of European companies, right? Because of these macro things. So he's expecting these European companies just fucking tank. So he's going to make a fortune because he shorted them at whatever, 50, and he's going to close it out at 5. He's going to make a fortune. That's what I heard. So I imagine
short players are just, it's like I've said this before. I like to play craps, right? And I hate wrong way bettors.
You don't like the dark side?
Anytime they show up at the table, it's like, oh God, this guy.
Yeah.
Just what a buzz.
Here's the thing, man. The most money I've ever made playing craps was playing dark side.
Oh God, you were a perfect.
But here, you feel dirty. You feel bad. Like you place your bets and you walk away from the table because you don't want to be around.
Yeah. You are exactly a wrong way better. Absolutely.
If I were an investor, I would probably be doing a lot of short strategies. There's very little doubt about that. But I feel bad.
Cry your way to the bank.
It was one of the reasons I don't play craps anymore. If I do, I only want to go play with the player, right? It's more fun that way.
Good.
But I don't know. Like I guess I'm just wondering what are the messages that are being put out there. And I know the associations and brokers are hiring economists and having them come in and tell their agents, like, here's how you should help your clients understand it. And I've seen some messages like, hey, it's time to pick up the phone and call people and blah, blah. I'm like, can you really say, so here's a question, right? Is this a good time to buy or sell?
It
can't be both, right? Can we agree? It can't be both, right?
I think it's getting the buyers to move, and this is the same kind of things for the sellers. I was just watching something on YouTube. I think it was on those Lab Code Agent site, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the guys from KCM was saying, which I love. They do a lot of great content on this stuff. It's like, listen, right now, Fed's raised the interest rates, by 75 basis points, and we're starting to see some homes that are cutting, reducing the price of their home, and they're also saying that they're going to raise interest rates, right?
Yeah.
So, the time to buy is now.
Yeah.
Right. That's an argument I think that realistically an agent and a broker can make to somebody. Hey, it's going up. We know that the interest rate's going up. You're going to be a different situation now, and you're getting some price reductions right now. So,
yeah, but then
maybe now is
maybe now, right? But here's a converse. Okay, but if I buy now and then prices keep dropping, I'm now underwater in 3 months.
Well, yes and no, but again, there's two things there, right? There's the decreases in prices, and then the increase in the mortgage rate. So,
right.
If you waited, and if you waited, well, now I'm at 5.5 or 5.75. It's now at 7.
Right.
Well, I'm out of any house that I could have bought back when back now.
No, because the home prices just continue to drop. In other words, the fiduciary responsibility pitch would be, you should buy now because it's a home you love, right? Money's not going to get any cheaper. It's going to get more expensive. However, if you buy this, understand that you may be underwater in 6 months. Right. So don't look at this as an investment. Look at this as, this is your family's home. Right.
Well, I mean, don't look at this as an investment in the short term. For sure.
Right. In the long run, like after we get past
look at the goddamn chart you just said. In the long run, you're cool.
Exactly.
I mean, every time I look at those things, like, I should have never sold a piece of real estate I bought ever in my life.
I agree. Yeah. Stupid. Except that what I sold was in New Jersey. So I think you should sell every piece of real estate in New Jersey. It's fucking New Jersey.
Oh, man. Sorry, New Jersey.
Sorry, New Jersey. I love you. No, I don't. But I don't know. So I guess I'm kind of curious how they have to manage it, because it's just really chaotic. Because here's where things get even worse, right? As I think the last time we talked about the economy, I told you, I think the Fed is bullshitting. I think that, like, they might do a 100 basis point raise this time, and then I think they pivot right back.
They go back to cutting?
I think they go back to cutting.
Oh, jeez, no way.
I think they have to. They don't have a choice, right? There's a lot of reasons why they just can't keep this up. The United States government goes bankrupt, we would have to default on our bonds. Like, it won't happen. So I think they're going to have to pivot back. So now imagine you're the agent who said, hey, you know what? Rates are going to go up. You should buy now. So they do. And then the rates come down and home prices. It's just crazy. Right?
I mean, again, going back to Ray Dalio, if I'm pronouncing that right.
You are.
One of the things he was saying in this interview I saw was that if you look at, like, and we were talking about revolutions and big cultural events like that, the biggest drivers of that, of when you look at that person, when you look at that country, was inflation. Like, look back at Germany.
Sure.
Right? Deutschmarks were flowing through the streets. Nobody picked them up because of, it was just, didn't matter. Right. And it gives, those are the times that these demigods and these fascists kind of come in, when the people are, at their weakest point, and they're, you look at those kind of things and you think just of recent events, back in a couple Januaries ago.
Yeah.
Of, what can happen when you have all those things. So I think, a government could say, this is a financial whatever, and this is going to be, painful for a little bit. But I mean, the alternative is we're setting ourselves up for that exact type of, situation to happen. And that means the country itself's gone. Right. So what happens? I mean, I'm dipping a little bit into the dark pool of Rob Hahn here with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Greg, I mean, you're about to go on vacation. I mean, do you want to walk down the dark path with me? I don't.
I'll let you know from Mykonos, man. Okay.
But on the dark path, I'll tell you the other thing, because you had mentioned work from home, like, changed everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, it did. But what do you think? I think the biggest change of work from home was it basically took that price to income ratio and threw out the window. Meaning, geographic arbitrage used to be something you only did when you retired. Like, I live in La Jolla,
or whatever, yeah.
And then I retire and I move to St. George, right? So I sell my house that's $2 million, and I buy the same size equivalent house for like $200,000. Right. Work from home made it where everybody who has a laptop job can do that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think these crazy local markets, like the Floridas, the Texases, the Austin, Tampa, I think a lot of it is that we took in the past. It was like price to income, like it's local, right? Like your job is in Chicago, you got to live in Chicago, so your income is 100,000, but right.
Now I'm going to move to a state. Benefits me the most because of my taxes.
I moved to Florida, and you know what? Oh, okay. This house is worth $1 million. Okay, well, that house would have been $2 million, so I'm selling my $2 million house. And I think I have no proof of this. Okay, other than some of the right-wing people I hang out with in Nevada and Arizona and Utah and other places. But no, but dude, there's a lot of anger and sort of this stuff building up against these out-of-staters coming in with a lot of cash.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it's not at a point where, it's really, but I just finished watching Yellowstone season 4, and that's kind of a subtext in that series, right? This, native Montanans with the Californians moving with their money. There's a bit of a tension there. I think I'm starting to hear a little bit about that out of like Florida and Texas and Tennessee.
Well, I know talking with people out in Boise, right? I mean, they're like things where like, give you some tips like, don't remove your California state license plates from your car.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just little tips and tricks before you move in here. Because everybody in Boise is one of those markets that just went fucking nuts. Right.
That's right.
This is before the pandemic too, right? It just started ramping. People are moving out there.
So now I don't know what happens with that, but I could see that being an issue, like along the, if things get worse, right? I could see local residents, if you will, starting to be like, what the fuck?
Remember the Picasso thing, right? Hating on like, this is a soulless house or whatever nonsense.
Yeah, but that was happening in like Napa, right? It was like basically millionaires protesting millionaires moving in, because they weren't rich enough. But if that starts to happen in Tampa, if that starts to happen in, Houston, if that starts to happen in Dallas, like it's a slightly different game.
Well, yeah, it's another version of Eat the Rich, right? I mean, the revolution or whatever you want to call it, kind of thing that could be under the surface, and then all of a sudden it just takes one match, right?
Yeah,
and boom.
And hopefully, man, you're in a dark mood today. Hopefully, none of this is going to happen.
I don't know. I'm kind of going down. I'm heading down the rabbit hole, man.
I know, really. You need Mykonos. You need white sandy beaches.
Yes. I need sandy beaches and a lot of
turquoise waters.
Turquoise waters, yes.
I don't know what color Greek seas are, but I think it's probably pretty nice.
Oh, it's got to be cool like that. It's got to be cool like that. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, this is a really bad economic report, I think. Macro is one of the hardest things to try to understand. I think it's really hard to understand with respect to housing because I feel like housing has been so out of whack. There's been no rhyme or reason. And, I have my theories, but there are just theories, right?
Yeah. And this is all in all this thing is going on with the industry itself, with the commissions and the lawsuits.
Yeah.
And,
disruption all over.
All over. It's just, every year I say this, like, what a fascinating time to be here in this area, right? Just don't know what the hell is going to happen. That's why we never have nothing to talk about.
True.
We start these things like, what are we going to talk about today? It's like,
true.
Now it's 51 minutes in.
Yeah. And we were about to start talking about militia movements. So, we can thank the fabulous Greg for that.
Darth Fabulous is what.
That's right. But you're the happy one, so I think I'm not happy with you going dark. I think I'm
no. Listen, a week, 9 days in Greece, I'm gonna be fine, dude. So
awesome, cool. Yeah, we need Luke Skywalker back, so that could be Darth Sidious or whatever.
Not my father.
Oh man! All right. Listen, I don't know if we came to any conclusions or whatnot, but I don't think you can, right? So let's see if there are any takeaways. See if we could pull together a takeaway.
I think the takeaway for me is that the fact is that I'm frustrated. There are no takeaways. We can't, it's like everything's so different. You can't even learn from history sometimes because there's nothing to look back upon to say whatever. I mean, I know people say, you don't know if you don't read history, you're not going to know what's going to happen next, right? Sure. But God, it's hard to find, some things that we know to look out for to, next time. Oh, don't have a pandemic next time. Okay, thank you. Yeah. I mean, what the hell does that mean, right? Yeah, to me, the takeaways, there is no takeaways, right?
I think my takeaway is history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah.
Right. So the current crisis result of money printing, so therefore it's going to end in a similar way to all past episodes of money printing.
And that's
what's that?
That's not a good thing.
No, I mean, look, we're going to end up resetting. That's all. We're going to end up resetting. Until then, it's going to be choppy. It's going to be a little wanky. And I think people just have to figure out, like, what's your take on it? Because there's no right answers. You have to have a take, though. You can't just, especially if you're an agent, you're trying to advise people with like the biggest purchase. Like, you got to have a take, man. You can't just be like, hey, you should just buy now because mortgage rates are at historical lows. Like, you have to be able to temper it with, yes, buy now, mortgage rates are historically low, but understand that you might be underwater in 6 months, right? Don't fucking come back and blame me, right? Don't be buying this house as an investment.
Problem, though. It's a short-term problem, yeah.
Don't be buying this house as an investment. Buy this house because you love it, you want to raise your family in it, and don't.
And 9 times out of 10, you'll end up in the black anyway. So
yeah, over the long haul, they're not making any more land, right? Yeah. I mean, I heard a great saying, and I'll end with this. I think it was Kiyosaki, who was on a program. He said he doesn't like the Fed, like me, but he did say the Fed can't print gas, they can't print food, and they can't print real estate. So buy the stuff that the Fed cannot print. I was like, there's an angle there. That's interesting, right? Yeah. So, all right, with that, let me wish you a wonderful, happy vacation. I can't wait to see you when you get back with photos. Hopefully next time you'll have to show us some photos. Check
the Instagram account. The gram's going to be blowing up, buddy.
There we go.
Gram's going to be blowing up.
So I don't know that we tell people what's your Instagram handle, Greg? Fabulous Greg
Robertson.
All right.
Yeah,
follow at Greg Robertson on Instagram for his fabulous Greek vacation photos. And I'll see you when you get back. And to everyone,
do you order a Greek salad in Greece, or just when you order a salad it comes that way?
You just order a salad, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
It's like how do you order French fries in France?
Yeah, no, again.
You just order fries, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. A Manhattan. I mean,
and to everyone who's listened to us ramble, we thank you for joining us, and we thank our sponsor, who is still around,
NoteRouter. Oh my God, we almost forgot, but I know that we talk about them in the end. But thank you, NoteRouter. You have been a fantastic, be our charter sponsor. Love NoteRouter. If you're an MLS association looking to better communicate with your members, run to NoteRouter. Run right now. Thank you, NoteRouter.
Thanks, everybody.
Take it easy.
Peace out.
I'm so excited to announce our inaugural sponsor of Industry Relations Podcast, NoteRouter. NoteRouter was launched back in 2018 by Nick Goff with the mission of reconnecting real estate. NoteRouter is an all-in-one email and texting platform designed exclusively for real estate. NoteRouter syncs with your membership database and makes communicating with your members easier and more effective. Your staff will love you for it. If you're an association or MLS that wants to do a better job of communicating with your members, look no further. NoteRouter has just launched a new website. It looks fantastic. It's NoteRouter.com. I'll put that information in the show notes and take a look. Again, Rob and I want to sincerely thank NoteRouter and Nick Goff for sponsoring this episode of Industry Relations.